Alrighty, fam. Here we go. Another video coming to you from your boy, Chatsky. Trying to get these things done. Trying to give you guys a lot of good content. We've done all of our everything cavalry, everything infantry, and now we're breaching into the everything archers, okay? And archers have a very special place in my heart. I run archers. I like archers. I like to play with archers. I think they do crazy amounts of damage. I think there are some issues when it comes to the mechanics of the game and the dot mode fighting. I've explained that and how sometimes when you're able to kind of see the icon here, it's hard in a murder ball because your archers tend to get focused. But for me, I think archers have a great role. I've watched Choe, we'll go ahead and call him, CY is what I like to call him. I've seen him in Garrisons, I've gotten the reports, I've done the analysis, I've talked to the Archer players, and this guy is pretty good. He's your Archer Garrison. That's what we're concentrating on today. We're talking Archer Garrisons, and we're going to give you all the different strategies, all the different ways to kind of use them and how to use them. He's a big healer, guys. He does not die. This dude does a ton of healing. He does the true damage, and it's really, really good. Plus, he's got some anti-swarm capabilities. He mitigates normal damage. He does some great things. He is a counter to the smite damage commanders. He's really, really good at that, and he's able to really do damage with any kind of CPO Emilianus rally coming at him. And so CY is really, really good. I've seen him with Hera, and then I've also seen him a little bit with Dido as well when there isn't necessarily a swarm coming. So this guy is really good. He does a lot of different things, like I said, and we're going to go ahead and do those. You've also got, obviously, Dido. Let me find her here. Don't necessarily have Dido on this account maxed, but we're pretty close. You know, we're kind of working on it, messing around with it. But Dido, a big damage dealer, and she also has some normal damage reduction of 10%. So that is also a really good anti-smite situation for Dido. She's got a great probability to do the ambush stuff. Dido is still formidable. She still is. She's not amazing. She's not meta. She's not anywhere close to being at the top of the top. But in certain situations, she's really, really good, okay? So let's do this. Let's go ahead and rank these as best we can and, like, discuss them, talk about them. First of all, naturally, they're going to have a tough time with cavalry commanders. They're archers, cavalry counters archers, and you still have high skill damage. You still have high skill damage cavalry rallies. Okay, of course we've got Nevsky, and then of course we've got Justinian. And so when you kind of go through this, just way too much skill damage. You know, for the most part, the archers are countering normal damage, which is great against smite. And Dido's got some capabilities to counter some skill damage stuff, but it's still a tough situation for archers when it comes to countering the cavalry, okay? But with that being said, you got to really ramp up the damage. So they got a clear field, and they're still susceptible to city pop-outs for swarming. So that's one of the things with Justinian and Nevsky that's really hard, because it doesn't have any anti-swarm capability. So it really kind of pigeonholes the enemy. If you run a really good Archer Garrison, it kind of forces the enemy to run the cavalry, and when they run cavalry, they gotta run Justinian with Nevsky, and when they do that, they're real susceptible to swarms. And so, with all that being said, let's get right into it. Let's talk about these things. Let's talk about the tier list and what we're getting done. Whoop, that was my music. Glad you guys like it. Okay, so here's what we got. Here's our tier list, and here's what we're going to work with. I've already put the combinations in place here, so we can just kind of talk about it. First things first, against the rally, straight up against the rally, no issues with maybe getting swarmed or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and put CY and Dido in here, because against the rally, these two work together extremely well, and we're also going to put CY with Hera, and these are really, really good combinations. CY with Hera provides even more normal damage reduction. Dido does a little bit of it. Dido is really the best option that you've got if you're going up against like a cavalry commanders or cavalry rally, because she has got some skill damage reduction, but more importantly, this one, you could put this one here if you want, or here. I think a lot of people like this really ahead of the Dido situation, because you're going to get swarmed so fast if you got CY with Dido. That's, people want to swarm that, so it's almost like you kind of, it's like a scarecrow. You kind of keep them from swarming it, but it still does really good against the rally. So you can do either one with these. You're going to get about the same results. I think you get a little bit better results against pure rallies with Dido than you do with the mixed troops, but that kind of gives you an idea of exactly how we want to do it there. So let me go ahead and do this. We're gonna go against the swarm. The best thing that you can do is CY with Hera, okay? And one of the other things we can do, if you don't have CY yet, hold on, let me put this back down. Let's finish that conversation. If you don't have CY yet and you have Dido Hera, you can still run that against rallies. It's not ideal, but you can still do it, okay? And so there's also another situation that you could do against rallies, but we'll get into that here in just a second. Okay, so against the swarms, the best thing that you can do straight up with just, this is just talking pure, this is not artifact, this is just pure archers, is CY with Hera. This does pretty well. I watched 1093 fight their 1v6 KVK, and a couple of the kingdoms were using a CY Hera, and it was really doing pretty good. I mean, it was just slamming against any of the infantry rallies. It was doing great against the archer rallies. It was even kicking out damage on the swarm, because you have anti-swarm with CY. Let's talk about that just a little bit. When you have CY, you get yourself into these situations to where you're going to kick out some damage against the swarm. Number one, he's got normal damage reduction. We know that. Let's see, where is it at? Here it is. He does have a normal damage bonus that he does of 10%, plus he kicks out 25% counterattack damage. And if the target troop has fewer units than the commander's troop, this counterattack damage bonus is increased by 15%. Okay, so they for all intents and purposes, this ramps up the counterattack a lot. And you got to remember, against a rally, okay, because he heals so much, all right, against a rally, after this dude is healing so much, you're literally going to be in a situation where you always have more troops in your march than the rally has in their march, okay? So this is going to be an effect, because you're always going to have, quote-unquote, more troops in your march. That's not talking about the garrison or the rally reinforcements. This is talking about the actual march of the rally versus the march of the garrison, and you're always going to have more troops, okay? And so with that being said, that's one of the benefits that you get into with CY, is that he's going to be able to do that extra kick out damage when it comes to the swarms. And so it's really, really potent and really, really powerful. That's just about the only anti-swarm situation that you have. You do not want to run a Dido with Hera, okay? It gets a little bit, and I guess we could kind of put it there, but a Dido with Hera is not going to be ideal. Okay, so yeah, we can put it in there. That's going to be your second best. It's not ideal for what you're trying to get done, okay? And so we go into something else. And this is where it gets a little bit finicky and a little bit tricky, okay? When you have a high damage fort or pass, okay? Just listen to when I say that. If you have a high damage, like you have 3 million troops and they got a tough time swarming it, if you're in a pass, okay, you can run a Dido Zuge and it works exceptionally well. So much damage gets kicked out. So many different things are able to be done with a Dido Zuge, and being able to do AoE to hit reinforcements and all that stuff. If you are not threatened with, this is what it's for. If you're not threatened with a swarm and you're in a 3 million cap structure, like a pass or a fort, Dido Zuge will probably get you the best results. That'll be your best result. It does too much damage, and there's too many good synergies between the two. Now, the second this thing starts to get swarmed, you are in trouble. It's done, okay? And that's what makes it so inviting. Now we have an extraordinary situation, and we got to get more testing on this, okay? People are running this CY Henry. Okay, and I got to give my guy Evergreen some credit, because he was the one actually kind of playing with this on our Discord server. And if you haven't joined our Discord server, our link is down in the description. This is where some of these ideas come up, and we test them and we go through them and we talk about them. But a CY Henry, don't be afraid to try that. A lot of normal damage kickback, a lot of different synergies there. Henry actually has a lot of skills that kick into the garrison, even though he's a rally commander. So it's really, really unique, and there's ways you can run that. So we want to see more testing there, but that looks like something that could be absolutely surprising, if you will. So that's kind of your lineup for how you want to do it. CY kind of puts the archers back into play in the garrison. We're getting ready to fight against big Imperium kingdoms and a high viewed KVK that we're getting ready to go into, and we're probably going to use the heck out of Archer Garrisons. And one of the hard parts with Archer Garrisons is having the archers to back it up. You know, a lot of kingdoms, because infantry is always really good in garrison, and cavalries are always really good with rallies. Archers are amazing with rallies, but people tend to have more infantry and cavalry than archers as far as the troops. And so that's why it's so hard sometimes just to run one specific troop type. Okay, here and here, and then also again here. It's really hard to do that when you're stuck with people who don't have enough archers in their city, and they just don't have that many made. So that's one thing to kind of consider. All right, I'm going to put all this stuff down here, and we're going to go to our next kind of criteria, if you will. Okay, and this is going to be Archer Garrisons, and we're going to do this with artifact. Okay, so Archer Garrisons with artifact. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Of course, you can always say against the rally, you could put up some of these situations to where you have this guy, and then obviously you have this guy, but we're gonna just stick to kind of where these would rank otherwise. Okay, so with that, there are going to be some things that you got to consider here. Okay, against a rally, CY with Gorgo is really good. Now, we don't have much testing with that, but we got enough to know that really works well. You know, CY doesn't have any mitigation to any kind of skill damage or smite damage, and he actually has got a little bit of a normal damage boost. Gorgo, of course, is going to do massive smite damage, and she's real tanky, and she kicks out damage, so this is actually really good. Okay, so when you have this, that's a really good artifact one you can put in here. Okay, in addition to that, you can also run versus the swarm. Okay, this is what's crazy about this. You can run that same thing, because I think CY with Gorgo is also going to be a really good combination against the swarm if you have an artifact, so you can put her there. Okay, there's also something else that's a little bit crazy. I'm going to go ahead and put this one here because this one kind of is a good all-around one that's really good for you. We're going to change this to overall, but that's what you got against the swarm. But here's the kicker. If you know you're getting swarmed, you put an artifact on our boy Attila and you let him go rep with CY, and look out. You got a ton of counterattack damage, you got a ton of healing, and you got a ton of sustain when it comes to these types of things. Now, you got to keep it all archers. Here's the thing with Attila. He does not like any other troop type. It negates his force skill. His most valuable skill is his force skill, and it negates all of it when you put a different type of troop in there. But this is something else. That's the key to CY, is that he does not die. That's the beauty of this. And so when we talk about swarms and artifacts, KVKs, and we talk about swarms and regular KVKs that don't have an artifact, he is amazing. We'll talk about kind of his sustain here in just a second. Okay, so if you have an artifact KVK and you want to do massive high damage in forts or passes, okay, this is where it gets real weird. All right, so let's get weird. Dido and Eleanor and Dido and Flavius are insane damage. Insane. Absolutely insane. Single target, it's gonna melt a rally. Okay, there's not a whole lot of rallies that can take this down. Okay, the Cavs are still gonna do pretty good against it, but it's just too much damage, guys. Especially when you put Flav behind her, it's a ton of damage. You put Eleanor behind her, and Eleanor fires off her extra Lily of the Wilds. That is crazy damage. And so that's what you like in those past situations, or any kind of 3 million cap fort that is not going to be swarmed. She's still the queen of, Dido is still the queen of archer pure damage in the garrison, okay? CY's great, but he's a healer, and he's a true damage, kickback damage type of guy, and he is more built for tankiness and sustain and counterattack. So that's kind of where you get into some of those situations to where you have some different ideas for artifact KVKs and you can put up there. We ran Flav behind Dido all the time in a pass, all the time. And then Eleanor comes out, and I know I ran Eleanor with Dido behind Eleanor, and it was insane damage. Like, it was wrecking any Archer rally coming my way, putting Eleanor first because I'm running calves, and then I'd have Dido backing her up, and it was wild. Okay, so those are kind of some of the different situations that you have here. All right, so let's kind of talk about this for a second on KVK 1 and 2. And KVK 1, there really is no Archer Garrison. There really is none. Like, you can maybe do Kuso, you could maybe do, we'll say K2, KVK2. You could maybe do Kusunoki with YSG, but there's really no Archer Garrison that's going to be good. Now, you can use YSG with Martel. You can use YSG in different situations, but there's just really no good Archer Garrison. However, they're the best Garrison in K2, hands down, without a doubt, not just Archers, just any Garrison, is this right here. Boom. YSG and Tommy have so many weird little synergies, and they are so good. And so with that being said, those two can absolutely, oh, hold on. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do that. Okay. Those two can absolutely wreck. Against the Swarm, it's the best you're going to get. Okay. Against the high damage forward pass, it's the best you're going to get. And the KVK2. This is just the coup de grace. It's the best in any situation that you get into in KVK2. Okay. I see this thing run all the time. People who have any kind of gear for YSG, they slap with YSG Tommy. Okay, and if people are brave enough to swarm in KVK2, it's not ideal to have this Garrison in there, but if you've got it in there, you're going to do AoE damage. You don't have enough high damage swarmers because you don't have enough of the SOC commanders to really swarm it down too bad, so it does okay. But against the rally, insane. High troop cap structures, it's insane. And the beauty is, okay, when you use this, you got a lot of inexperienced players in K2, and you're going to have even more now that the game is not allowing older accounts to migrate back to K2. It's going to be purely new players. And when you have that, they just don't know, guys. They just don't know to not walk in the AoE. You can get so much additional value with YSG hammering that AoE inside of a flag or a fort, and it's just so good. So that kind of gives you an idea. That's why I put it all there. There's really only one combination, and that's what you get. Okay, so in conclusion on this, there's something else that needs to be addressed here, because this is the interesting point, and this is kind of what makes this thing work. Our boy here, okay, the one thing I noticed when people are running this Garrison, you don't have to have a backup Garrison. Okay, he's got very much, anybody that's played this game a long time, you know that there's like an old Xeno effect. Okay, we had Xeno as the queen of the Garrison for so many years, literally multiple years. And the reason why is because she had a massive healing factor. She never died. Even if you swarmed her, you couldn't knock her out of the Garrison. Okay, and that's the easiest way to kill a flag and to get a burn on a flag is to swarm it and kill the Garrison and hope that they can't switch captains and have a backup Garrison. This guy's not dying. It's that simple. Okay, he's going to be firing off heals so much. It's wild how fast he fires up the heals. He's going to have the healing bonus of 45%. I mean, so he is just doing crazy amounts of healing. And if you're swarming him, he's firing off his active skill, boom, 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 as fast as he can. And when he is, you just can't kill him. Okay, so I've like told other war leads and things like that, hey, if you're setting up a defense, you don't need to put 3 CY garrisons by a fort or 3 by a flag. 2 at the most. You can get away with 1. Just have your best Archer Garrison sit his tail in that fort and let him go to work. And if you say, oh, well, you get in a situation where you have to have a backup, no, you don't. Because if they ever kill this guy, then the fort's dead anyway. You got 0 troops in the fort or flag. Okay, so that's the beauty with this guy, and people don't understand that. It's like the one hidden benefit of the healing that people don't get. They don't understand it, and that's the fact that this keeps the garrison alive. It takes the. I'm a garrison player, guys. I know this. All right, when I run garrisons that don't have healing factors, you go up against swarms from the biggest kingdoms in the game, you better have your backup ready. Or you better be backing yourself up with your mixed troop garrison or something, okay? Because if you don't, you are in deep, deep trouble. They will kill your captain so fast if you don't have a backup ready to go. And with this dude, it just takes all that pressure off. Like, you can just literally leave him in there. And on a garrison, when you open up kind of the structure screen where you can see all the marches in there, his troop count for his march might drop to like 1,000, 500, 200. It's not going to matter. They can't kill him. Because the minute he heals, boom, that's going back up to 2,000 troops. And then it drops down again, and again, and again. And then all of a sudden it gets down to 500. Your garrison captain's going to be screaming for a backup, and you war leads need to be like, hey, you're fine. Okay, they're not going to kill you. It's just there's no way he can die. All right. Now, in any extraordinary situation, you can get him killed. But generally, if he dies, that means you have no troops in the garrison at all. You have no reinforcements. You're done. There's 0 troops in there. And that's how he generally dies. So that's kind of the benefit for him on his sustain, because you can honestly do different things. You guys like my chaining march out here? Yeah, you betcha. I chain my face off when it comes to KVK. All right. So anyways, that in here, let me just kind of show you a burden of proof here. My chaining is off the charts. There you go. Chaining like crazy. Okay. Chaining like crazy. All over the place. Just chaining. Look, I got multiple marches chaining. And so anyways, we ought to do a chaining video later, but that gives you the kind of the roundabout of where the Archer Garrisons are right now, what you can use, how you can use them. And hey, listen, they're good. If you've got long drawn out KVKs, all right, and you're looking at your troops now, guys, don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Here's my troops. I always have less archers because I always run 3 cavalry, and sometimes we'll run 3 infantry. Plus I garrison both of these things. I don't garrison archers myself. Okay. So I don't have a whole lot of archers in here, but I'm going to start training more and more because that's what we're getting ready to fight with. Because we have the CY Garrison now, and we're going to be able to dump those archer troops in a garrison, and it will be a lot of fun, okay? So, with that being said, oh, by the way, you don't make fun of me for my siege over here. This is for my dailies on my bastions, y'all. I'm good. I kill these off at the end of KVK. Get some speed ups out of them. But if you like the video, throw a like on the video and subscribe. Check out our Discord. We got more content coming to you, if not every day, every other day. And we're trying to give everybody the best opportunity to apply this stuff to their real rock life. That's real rock life application. That's what we want to do and help you with. So that being said, hope everybody has a great day, broskies.